and handle them quickly. First, free speech. This is an easy objection to handle. There can't be any free speech concerns here because smut is not speech. Having sex on camera for money is not expression. It's prostitution, which is why nobody who consumes the content is consuming it for the messages. In the whole sordid history of internet smut, not one of its billions of consumers has ever clicked on it because they wanted to know what the naked people on camera were trying to say. Okay, not one of them has ever been interested in what the naked people are trying to communicate. We all know this. Speech is communication. That's literally the definition of it. And having sex on camera is not a form of communication. So the free speech argument isn't one that anyone really takes seriously. Even if they give the argument, they still don't take it seriously. And it's even less serious when you consider that this is about age verification. It's not about an outright ban. So even if I agree that pornography is speech protected under the First Amendment, something that none of our founding fathers who gave us the First Amendment would have remotely agreed with, by the way, still, that wouldn't apply here because we're not talking about banning it outright. Although I do think it should be banned. What we're talking about, though, is simply making sure that children are not exposed to it. So somebody who makes the free speech argument in this case is not arguing simply that people have the First Amendment right to have sex on camera. What they're arguing is that people have the First Amendment right to have sex on camera in front of children. And if that's the argument you're making, then not only are you wrong, but you should probably be on a registry somewhere. Second, they say that users will go somewhere else if they have to verify their age. 95% of users refuse to verify their age, according to the article. Well, that's not an argument against age verification. If users choose not to participate, that's their choice. This is only a problem if you're deeply worried about maintaining the profit margins of the internet prostitution business. There's no other downside. Like, why is that a problem? Well, then they won't go to the website. So? Okay, so then the pornography industry is less profitable? And that's a problem? Like, we need to maintain the profits of the industry? It's worth exposing our kids to this just so that they can still make billions of dollars on this content? Is that really what you think? Are you insane? Are you an insane person? No, actually, it's an added bonus. If you're telling me, 95% of the customers won't come, great. I mean, we're not stopping them from coming if they're of legal age. But if they don't end up coming and this whole industry collapses and it's bankrupted and everybody involved in it is bankrupted by it, that's awesome. That is great. I hope that every single person in the industry is bankrupt. I want them all bankrupted and homeless on the street. That's what they deserve. Okay? That would be justice. That's what you deserve. But since we're on the subject, let's think about it for a moment. 95%, that's the number we were given. 95% of users refuse to verify their age. Assuming that number is correct, which is coming to us from the industry, that's what they're telling us. Well, that's pretty incredible. Because none of the other industries with age verification have that problem. There is no liquor store or gambling site on the planet that loses 95% of its user base by requiring an ID. Only the porn industry has that problem. That's interesting, isn't it? What does that tell you? Okay, if there was a liquor store and that was not requiring IDs, and we said that you got to require ID, and they said, well, if I do that, I'll lose 95% of my customers. What does that tell you about the customers? Well, what it should tell you is that, first of all, a huge percentage of the customer base is comprised of children. Okay, that's a significant portion of the 95%. If the liquor store says, I'll lose 95% of my customers if I ask for an ID, okay, well, that tells me that you are just like giving alcohol to every minor in the neighborhood. And that's all the more reason why you need to require ID. In fact, well, you should actually be in prison. But second, what it tells you is that even the adult users, because I don't think that 95% of the users are children. I think a lot of them are. But also a big portion of that 95% are adults. Well, what that tells you is that adult users are deeply ashamed of what they're doing because they'll give their ID to gamble. They'll give their ID to buy alcohol. They'll give their ID to buy, if they want to buy a tobacco product. They'll give their ID. They'll have no issue with that. They're not going to start crying. Oh, my privacy is violated. If they go to the liquor store to buy a bottle of wine and they're asked for an ID, they're not going to start, this is an attack on my privacy. They don't do that. But they only do it with pornography. That's interesting. Why? Well, again, they're embarrassed. They feel shame. And also, they recognize that these sites are untrustworthy and they don't want to give any of their personal information to the sites. That's the other argument. Well, you think I'm not going to give my ID to one of these sites? Oh, really? Why won't you? Why will you give your ID to a liquor store or to FanDuel, but you wouldn't give it to, why? Oh, because these are like skeevy, disgusting sites run by horrible, evil people, and you don't trust them with your information. And also you're embarrassed. Well, okay, isn't that all the more reason why we should not have children here? If you won't trust these sites with your identification as an adult, will you trust them with your child? And finally, we're told that there's a slippery slope. We won't know where to draw the line. By requiring age verification for pornographic content, we might end up with age verification for a bunch of other sites as well. Now, I find this to be perhaps the least persuasive of all of these deeply unpersuasive arguments. All the arguments against age verification are extremely stupid. And you should be embarrassed about yourself if you are on that side of the argument, okay? You're a dumb person, or at least you're acting like one. Just consider this. If you are someone who unfortunately frequents pornographic sites, when's the last time you went to a site like that and you weren't sure if it was a pornography site or not? And you keep talking, well, we don't know where to draw the line. Well, if you're required here, then really? Really? We don't know where to draw the line? Really? Is that actually true? We don't know where the line, where it starts. Like, where does a pornography site end and a regular site begin? Really? When's the last time you were on a pornography site and you were like, is this porno? I don't know. Maybe that's an excuse you might give. Maybe if your wife walks in, you say, and she said, what are you looking at? Is this porn? Oh, I didn't know. This is what pornography is. I had no idea. Oh no, I thought I was on a site getting information about domestic violence. I thought I was on a scientific site. I thought I was getting, I'm doing anatomy research. Right. Okay. You have never experienced the slightest bit of confusion about what sort of website you're on. When's the last time anyone has ever seen or even heard about a website that might or might not qualify as a pornography site? That doesn't exist. It just doesn't exist. Okay, shut up. It doesn't exist. All of these arguments are people, none of this is true. You know that pornography is not free speech. It's not speech. That's not why you're looking at it. You know you have no problem with age verification in principle. You know that you know exactly what we're talking about when we talk about pornography, and you sit there and go, how do you define it? I don't know how to define it. I have no idea what that is. I have no clue. When you say the word pornography, I don't know what you're talking about, Matt. Shut up. Just shut up. Okay? This is not real. It's not an actual problem. We all know what kind of websites we're talking about. They're very easy to identify. No one has any problem identifying them. And that's all that needs to be said on that point. It's all that should need to be said about any of this. Okay, yes, we should have age verification. That is the absolute bare minimum of the sorts of protections that should be in place. And protecting children, putting some sort of thing in place to protect children to the extent that we can, is more important than your desire to be able to go find masturbation material without having to give your ID. Okay, we have two competing interests here, and one interest is protecting the millions of children who are being exposed to horrifically disgusting content at ages when their brains cannot handle it. That's one interest. The other interest is that you want to masturbate to pornography, and you want to be able to access it quickly without having to get your wallet out. Okay. That is the scale. Okay. Is like this. There's no competition here. All right. At all. So just pull your ID out, or if you're that embarrassed and you don't want to, maybe you should ask yourself why you're so embarrassed and like go do something productive with your time instead. How about that? You don't want to give your ID. Great. I want to go to the gym instead. Go take a walk. All right. Go out and like talk to your children. Go talk to your wife, or go get a wife, instead. How about that?